A question. Do you find some persons difficult sometimes? Why? What is the reason behind it? Some people repeatedly behave in a manner which for us at times. And yet we feel that our colleagues, they are dealing with those persons. Sometimes we question, don't you think that the smartest people are more successful? So I'm sure we all have on and off felt at times that some persons are academically, they may be very brilliant, but socially inept and sometimes even unsuccessful at their workplace. So here comes in the concept of emotional intelligence. I'll be on what is emotional intelligence, the quotient and the emotional quotient. What is the importance of emotional quotient? Then, of course, relate to language, emotional, and have difference in it. What is emotional literacy? And what triggers us and how can we unhook ourselves? How can we enhance this EQ? How is the emotional quotient related to the emotional intelligence related to the language learning? We know that learning a second language is not an easy job for our learners. It is difficult, exhausting, full of stresses and this problem, as the students are expected to communicate with the language which is quite different, quite difficult from their mother tongue. And of course, this often leads to mistakes or failures despite all the efforts. The level of intelligence, of course, plays a significant role. We cannot deny that. So failure is not solely limited to the level of intelligence. According to Colvin, who's a distinguished psychologist in the field of emotional intelligence, he states that 80% of the research for any success is emotional intelligence, and this applies to the students as well as the teachers. So before I go further with the concept, a quick understanding of what do we mean by the emotions, because we're talking about emotional intelligence. An emotion, a natural instinct, a state of mind, which is deriving from, you can say, one's circumstances, moods, or relationships, and something which keeps changing. So we can have pleasant emotions when we are happy, we are enthusiastic about certain things, we get some good news, we are hopeful, we have confidence, trust. So all these gives us those pleasant emotions, which we call as the positive emotions. But at times we also face the unpleasant emotions, fear, anger, guilt, depression, jealousy, okay, regret, resentful. So emotions, what are they expressing? Our inner feelings. They are expressing outwardly what we feel inside. That is our subjective feeling. Outward signs are there in order to tell us what we're experiencing. Sometimes it may be intentional or unintentional, both ways. You see the facial expression of people at times, or the speech which tells you how a person is feeling or what emotions are going through. Sometimes the body reacts to these emotions when you try to suppress an emotion for a considerable period of time. This awareness of the arousal, we can see it in the form of the physiological responses also. And these emotions, there are so many factors, emotions like personality or weather, stress or sleep or health. But the function of the emotions is it arouses us to take action, to motivate us. It has got that adaptive function. It regulates these, social interactions because they are created from the circumstances. So coming to this point as to what are emotions and why do we have to manage these emotions? We have seen people in society or sometimes people referring to people that he's such a nice person and he really goes along well, he's very popular. Okay, the person may be very nice, but when the things are not, is he pleasant then? Is he able to control his emotions in challenging situations? Situations like when you have to or receive a feedback, when you have to hear criticism, when there are tight deadlines, when you have to work under pressure, when there are lack of resources, there is a lot of change, setbacks, failures. How about then? Do you think emotions in these kinds of environment? Coleman, as I mentioned earlier, the great psychologist who came up with the concept of emotional intelligence. What really matters for success, character, happiness, and lifelong achievement is a definite set of emotional skills. Your EQ, that is emotional quotient, not just purely cognitive abilities which are measured by the IQ tests. Initially, the term came by Peter Salovey and John D. Mayer. They had coined this term, and it was Daniel Coleman who brought his book Emotional Intelligence in 1995, when he stated basically it is the capacity to be aware of control, to express one's emotions, to handle the interpersonal relationships well. So it comprises of the skills. What skills? The ability to identify and name your emotions, to harness these emotions and then apply them to tasks like thinking or problem solving, and to manage the emotions which regulate one's emotions and also of others. So, what is EI? The emotional intelligence, it is the understanding self and others and managing self and the relationship. I'm going to take up the various attributes in detail. So it is your ability to identify, manage, and express your emotions effectively and also to handle the interpersonal situations effectively and wisely. And why is it important? Because it helps you at your personal level and also at your workplace. See, it is a scientific fact. We say that emotions precede thought. When emotions they run very high, they change the way our brains function. When I'm annoyed, I'm not able to reason out things. I'm not able to think. Some people are not even able to speak. Why? Because somewhere these emotions, when they run high, when they're not in our control, they diminish the cognitive abilities, our decision-making process, and of course, the interpersonal skills. So if we have a control on our emotions, the emotional intelligence, if we possess, it is going to help us at the personal level because we will be able to also handle uncomfortable conversations without hurting anybody's feelings. So I think there's some background noise.
Yes, I was muted.
Okay,
I think there's a background noise, like someone's.
I'm doing that, ma'am. You
okay,
just
okay.
carry on. I'm
Thank
taking
you
care
so
of.
much. Thank you so much. So at personal level, managing the emotions when you're stressed, and of course, it helps you to improve your relations with people you care about. At workplace also, it helps you to resolve the conflicts, to coach and motivate others, to create a culture, a happy culture of collaboration, and to build an environment where you feel secure and safe with the team you are working with. So the question is, does emotional intelligence matter? It does. Yes. In the present scenario, it has become a focus of attention these days in education as a result of research which shows that successive generations are becoming less emotionally aware. There have been changes, we all understand, isn't it? In the family structure, when we talk about, or of course, the reduced role of parents in education to a certain extent, mobility or technology, it is taking up. So there is a necessity to develop EQ at all levels across the curriculum, because this is going to help us in our job, in the satisfaction, in our relationships to handle these emotions, for our physical and mental health, of course, to gain confidence. So we know that all people, whether they are at work or in personal lives, some people may be very good listeners, no matter what kind of situation there is. I'm sure all of us have met some persons who know exactly what is the right word to say in a situation and how to say it. There are always people around in friends or relatives or family whom we always go to whenever there is a problem. It is not that they give you a solution to the problem, isn't it? But you feel better after talking to them. So, who are these people? They are the ones who have a complete control over their emotions. They never get annoyed. They are never stressed. They calmly look at whatever is going on around. Even if there's criticism, they take it so well. They know their emotional intelligence and they are also able to understand and identify the emotion of others. And that is the reason why they make others feel good, isn't it? Because they go through their own life so easily. So emotional intelligence, it impacts your behavior when you are interacting with others. It helps you to recognize your own state, appreciate the state of others, and also change the behavior to form healthier relationships, to have success, to lead a more fulfilling life. Coming to the attributes as given by Goldman, I'll quickly take these attributes. There are 5 attributes he talks about: self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, motivation, and the social skills. Talking about the first one, self-awareness. What is the self-awareness we talk about? Are we able to identify our own emotions, our own moods? Do we recognize our emotions? This awareness that we have is different from reflection. See, reflection is once you're out of the emotion and later on you sit and you reflect on what happened. But self-awareness means being in that moment. When you are still in that situation and have a control over it, you are able to identify. You're able to do a SWOT analysis of yourself. Where is my strength and where lies my weakness? Fine, each and every person is disturbed by the emotions, but the difference lies in the fact how many of us are able to get a control over it. We should not allow any kind of feelings that we have to dominate us. They should never get out of control. So are we so professional? Yes, remember the 3 A's: the awareness of the emotion, the accountability, and the actions. And once we have a control over this, this gives us self-confidence also. So this kind of self-awareness we also have to create in our learners. Tell them to know about their emotions, understand their emotions first, identify their emotions, write them down so that they know exactly what they are going through. Are they able to pinpoint? Then after the self-awareness comes the second attribute, that is your self-regulation or self-management. What is this ability? Ability to control emotions and impulses. When we do not make any kind of, you can say, careless or impulsive decisions. See, as I said earlier, there are so many people who manage themselves so well. In little and small things, you can see whether it is attending a meeting or they're there for an appointment or for documentation of something, commitment, whatever they are doing, they do it so precisely, so perfectly. Why? Because they know the self-management strategy. They are thoughtful, they take initiatives, they adopt their life as per the circumstances. They're quite flexible. They always think before they act, right? So they bounce back. They are able to keep this balance. They never become angry. They are always able to keep themselves perfect. They have integrity. So are we able to be consistent, stable? Do we always stick to the plan that we've decided? Are we accountable? Do we educate ourselves not to change, stay always fit and fine? So that is the question. And then the most important attribute of emotional intelligence is the empathy, which we, as the teachers of English, really need to practice and also give this kind of training to our students. Sympathy and empathy. What is empathy? When you sympathize with others, but it is the empathy is the ability to identify and understand the wants, the needs, the feelings, and the viewpoints of others. Sharing their joy, sharing their sadness, right? To be in the mental shoes of others. Are we able to manage this kind of relationship? Do we actually attentively listen to what others are saying? Are we open to ourselves and to others? So, living that kind of life where you perceive the causes as if I am experiencing those feelings. Accept people as they are. Never judge people. Treating the people the way they wish to be treated. Having that kind of empathy. Then we can say that yes, we can connect to people, we can relate to people. Motivation, a very important attribute of emotional intelligence. And again, we really have to work on motivating oneself. As I said, there are some people who are always fully motivated, isn't it? Intrinsically driven. They pursue their goal, they have a strong desire to achieve, highly optimistic. How can we build these qualities in our students, in our learners, especially who are learning a foreign language, especially with learners who are not comfortable? And it is not only that they are unable to learn the language, the reasons lie elsewhere. We need to understand those emotions so that there is more productivity, there is more creativity. Let us work towards a cause. Let's not compare any of them. Make a conscious effort not to give up if you have taken up something, not to live in the past, always being motivated. So this is a very essential attribute in order to have emotional intelligence, to be strong in our intelligence. See, motivation, it is imperative, isn't it? The learners can be guided to have their goals, set their goals, write down their goals so that it is always before them. Tell them to keep monitoring their goals, right? They may ask somebody's help, they may take a friend or a family member so that they know that yes, we are working in this direction. And at times when there are setbacks, when there are failures, when they feel insecure, when they're not all that confident enough, there are persons to push them further. There are going to be challenges in life, isn't it? But tell them not to shift from their focus. They have to keep that positive mindset. Whatever, teachers, they can take up certain activities in order to help and guide these students. So many class activities, I'm going to come up with certain examples that we can take up with such students. Help them to label their emotions, establish strong relationships. So we see how emotional quotient is going to complement our IQ. It is not that IQ is not responsible. IQ, of course, is
Kanish,
going to make us successful in life,
uh,
but it is EQ which is basically responsible. Swati, are you saying something?
no. I just wanted to request promote sir, like there's a background news constantly. Like if your microphone can be muted, will that be okay?
Okay, let me check.
Thank you, ma'am. Please carry on.
Then coming to the social skills, understanding the needs and emotions of others, picking up emotional cues of others. So having compassion, having empathy, feeling comfortable socially and recognizing the power of dynamics when we are working in a group, building good teams, persuading others. All this requires what? Develop good relationships. In classroom also, I remember initially when I started my job, whenever there were students who had good background and could speak fluently, so automatically we would ask them questions. It is only gradually when you sit in, we have to see that, okay, there are also some weak learners. They're not ready to speak up, but they know the answers. Some of them, they don't know anything, but they need that kind of confidence, So a kind of hand holding has to be done in order to bring them along. So develop this kind of, so that there is a rapport. They're able to communicate clearly, lead with a positive, positive approach, so that they're able to communicate. So that is the kind of inspirational leadership which is required in our classrooms. So coming to the competencies that Goldman has talked about. See, if you look at the screen, the concept will be very much clear to you. As I said, that is self-awareness and social awareness, self-management and relationship management. So if you see this way, at the personal level, we have to be aware, identify and understand our own emotions and control these, regulate these. So this gives you, if you have that, to develop that personal competence. And to develop the social competence to understand the emotions of others and yes, this is what I do. And it is then we can say that yes, we have emotional intelligence. We are able to have a control over it. We all have heard about emotional intelligence. We know that both together is going to make you successful. See, IQ, it will help you to get to the door. It will help you to get to the institution or to the work. But it is your EQ which is going to make your life successful, which is going to help you succeed at the job. IQ is the measure of your ability, okay, of your learning and your understanding. Whereas EQ, emotional quotient or emotional intelligence, it is the measure of ability to use your emotions and your logical skills. At IQ, you may be very intelligent, but not necessarily you have a control over your emotions. Whereas at EQ, if you're an emotionally intelligent person, you will be able to understand and manage the emotions and use them in a very successful way. So one, of course, makes you intelligent in the book smart way with all the intelligence, whereas the other makes you smart, a heart smart. IQ will get through the academics, but it is the emotional quotient which will get you through life. And that is the importance. We all have seen this diagram whenever we talk about emotional intelligence, the diagram of iceberg. Why EQ is better than IQ? So you can see that the tip of the iceberg, that is about 20 to 25% of the business success, it goes with your IQ. But it is the major part, 75 to 80%, that is related to your EQ. That is your intelligent quotient. So competency behavior is just a little bit, the tip of the iceberg. But it is these major attributes. If you work on it, you develop them, you polish them consciously, being self-aware, identifying your emotions and others, regulating your emotions and regulating emotions of others, to have that kind of interpersonal skills with empathy and motivation and the social skills will definitely take you to success. So there is a relationship. EQ will help you in better teamwork, in leadership, having successful relations at workplace and at personal level also, collaborating with others. Whereas IQ, it, of course, it will help you in taking challenging tasks, analyzing, doing research and development. But it is both the skills, as I said earlier, which are required to interact, to understand people, and to navigate the social world. Now, being emotional and having emotional intelligence. So if you ask anybody, some people say, oh, I'm highly emotionally intelligent. Why? Because I've got lots of emotions. I cry easily and I laugh very easily. I'm very flexible. I'm a very simple person. So being emotional and having emotional intelligence are two different things. Okay, very emotional people, sometimes they do not necessarily have a high emotional intelligence, because they may only display their emotions, their feelings without knowing what they have done, not even considering the appropriateness of showing it at the actual respective situation. Without knowing how to manage emotions, any small thing, sometimes, a small argument, a little bit of criticism, it hits us harder isn't it? Because we do not understand the emotions. Why do sometimes people judge others so much? Why do people feel bad if there is criticism? Why? Because we do not understand these emotions, have that intelligence to understand it. So, friends, see, emotional intelligence, it is a crucial skill. And if it is an incompetency in us, we need to be aware of it. Fundamental thing is knowing about it. Who are we? We need to learn the skill. We need to be aware of this incompetency. We have to work in the skill, acknowledge our emotions. Sometimes, there's a taboo in the society. Let's not talk about emotions, isn't it? In a formal gathering, in formal society, we often don't talk about personal emotions. But now it is essential for you to differentiate and to analyze your emotions. The lots of emotions have other functions and they need to be handled differently. Accept these, appreciate these emotions, reflect on your emotions. As I said, I tell my students, whatever you feel, write it down. Discuss it with your friends and your family or whomsoever you feel free with. Think actively, handle them. So the next time when you feel similar things, you will be able to handle it in a much better way. We need to teach our students to open up, handle your emotions, and at the same time, handle the emotion of others. So coming to the 4 stages of competence, a quick diagram, just the way, we learn driving. So earlier, it is the unconscious incompetence. And then you realize that, okay, I don't have this competence, I don't have this skill. So I work in that direction and I learn it. So that is the conscious competence. And then you become such an expert in that particular skill that without working consciously means unconsciously that competence stays with you. And this is what we have to do. We have to learn the skill so that it becomes a part and parcel of our personality. When you realize that you have this incompetence, that is the state when we say, the awareness that I don't have, I'm incompetent. And then I start learning what is to be done. I write down my emotions, think about it, analyze emotion, observe people, how people behave. Why are some people so successful, so happy? Why do we always wait for certain personalities to be a part of that group? Because, they make everything so sunny and bright, isn't it? So what is it in their personality? What is it? Till finally you also reach that state, which we call the mastery of such emotions. This is a quotation for you, friends. Aristotle said, to be angry is easy, but to be angry with the right man at the right time and in the right manner, that is not easy. I'm reminded of one thing. I'll just share it with you. I was reading Barack Obama's book. Once Annie Dunham, the father of this former president of US, Barack Obama, she once found Barack, who was a school-going boy at that time. He was a part of that group who were teasing a kid in a school. So she sat him in front of her and said, there are people in the world who think only about themselves. They don't care what happens to other people, so long as they get what they want. They put other people down to make themselves feel important. She also said, then there are people who do the opposite, who are able to imagine how others must feel and make sure that they don't do these things. They never hurt people. Then she posed a question before this teenager. Which kind of person do you want to be? And Obama, in his book, A Promised Land, is narrating this childhood event. And he says, I felt lousy. As she intended it to be, her question stayed with me for a very long time. So these are small things that sometimes make us reflect. Coming to the second part of my presentation or discussion and sharing of ideas is how emotional intelligence affects the learning, especially of English language. What is there? Why do we need it here as English teachers? We know that higher emotional intelligence on the basis of research, the subject achievement is definitely better. Emotional intelligence affects English language learning. Higher the emotional intelligence, better management of the stress, There is more adaptability of the students, their reading skills, their speaking skills, they are much, much better. So the learner needs to possess these skills, that is emotional intelligence, to manage their stress. By being emotionally aware, they have better self-esteem, better self-confidence, they are proficient listeners. So emotional intelligence, it can be taught, it may be enhanced in learners who are with a low level of emotional intelligence. Let us enable our learners to identify their emotions. So there can be so many strategies which can be picked up by us as teachers to raise the emotional intelligence. Talking about the language of emotions, I've already discussed a little bit as to what emotions are. I'm not going much into the psychology of it, but basic thing is what we as teachers can do in order to make it a better world. See, it's a normal thing for a frightened passenger is going in a car, and if the car is going very fast, what do we say? Oh, you're driving so fast. You're driving like a maniac, right? We often blame the driver rather than saying, I am scared, isn't it? The same applies to so many things that happen in our life. We do not understand the language of emotions. And this is what we need to teach our students, our learners. Let us teach our learners to state their feelings well directly so that they do not complicate what they say. Right? Language has got its own functions. And the most important function is to label the feelings. Let us teach our learners, label yourself, identify your emotions, and then speak about it. Empathize with them. Tell if you're afraid about something. Say, I'm impatient, I'm frightened. Put it in words. Write it down if you're not able to speak. Take responsibility for your feelings. Empathize with everybody. Be positive. And at the same time, we need to teach them that you also have to avoid language that gives commands or have got some kind of, you can say, strong lecture kind of approach and when you're blaming others. So this is what needs to be taught to the students. How is the intelligence, your emotional intelligence or emotional quotient and ELT related? See, understanding and assessing the behavioral patterns, it is relevant for the development of the individual and even for the development of the organization, isn't it? Because if we have better students, emotionally intelligent students as well as teachers, it is definitely going to lead to academic success. It will be better for the development of not the individual alone, but also for the organization, also for the teachers, because it is reducing the anxiety, the negativity during that learning process. Why not create that conducive environment for our students? Give them a sense of identity, give them that safety role. And I'm sure we can take up this responsibility, giving them sense of attachment, a sense of belonging to our students. Tell them that everything is going to be okay. Even if you learn the language, even if you're not speaking it correctly at the initial stage, even if you're not successful about it, it's fine. Others are also experiencing it. It may be difficult for others too. You're not the only one. Reassure them. Have that bonding with those students, with our learners. Give them that facilitating form of friendly atmosphere. Induction and information. Give them the information that they need. If we look into the minor things, what all is better for the students, definitely it is going to help them to develop their emotional intelligence. If training is required, give them that training about stress management, time management, so that they know how to handle themselves. And of course, holism, balancing their work and life, a balancing kind of atmosphere, their academic learning with the physical and the social activities. It becomes very, very essential. So in earlier days also, when we were in that rote learning kind of environment, when teacher was at the center of the class, still the group activities, it needed that pair and group work is done. Support and cooperation were given to the weaker students. We had to be careful
Pramod, sir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Maybe there's again a background noise.
From my end,
No, I don't know from whose end, but the fact is there's a background noise.
but here is
Okay,
no.
thank you.
Here is complete silence.
Okay, talking about,
Ma'am, kindly continue.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Swati. And thank you, Pramod sir. Talking about emotional literacy, ability to express your emotions, which are necessary for the group dynamics. Okay, not necessary that all the learners are positive when they're in the class. We have reluctant ones who are not ready to cooperate. Okay, they withdraw, they go back into their shell. At times, there are repressed fears, isn't it? There's anxiety, there is anger, some kind of nervousness, or they may be stress. All this is not linked to any kind of linguistic inability. So we as teachers, we as champions, we as facilitators need to focus on the language which they need to express their emotions in order to reduce their tension, in order to produce better dynamics. So what can we do? We can pick up different approaches. We can promote emotional quotient and emotional intelligence by accepting these different learning styles. Let's have some icebreaker sessions in the classrooms. Yeah, it is going to act as warmers. It will help them to mingle with each other, share their ideas, know each other better. Brainstorming sessions and discussion, which will help them to encourage. You can have role play or group work activities. See to it that the group composition should be changed pretty often, because often high EQ students, they prefer working together. So all this kind of collaborative reading, writing activities is going to help them to develop their emotional intelligence. Make it clear as to what is expected of them and give and take their feedback also, which is going to be very specific, very clear as to what is expected. Then we talk about the validity. Coming to the most important point, what is the validity of emotional intelligence when we talk about English language? EI or emotional intelligence has got a role to play in language learning, and there is a positive relationship when we talk about English language learning. Why? Because we take it as an emotional skill. How? EI and English language learning. See, there are some people or some students who really express themselves well, his or emotions in a very healthy way. They even understand the emotions of others. There is no problem for them to understand this. And of course, they enhance their work relationship, their performance is better. So emotional intelligence is having the skill to use his or emotions to help them make choices. So recently, a growing body of literature is supporting the validity of this emotional intelligence in the context of language learning. In a study which was conducted in 2008, they said that learning a foreign language often gave anxiety to students. There is feeling of tension, apprehension. It is something very common. Specifically, this is associated with in the second language context. When we talk about speaking in English, listening or learning. So EI, the ability to recognize, to employ, comprehend, and manage emotions, which becomes very important in learning a language. There may be so many obstacles also when you're learning English or any other language which is not your mother tongue. So whether it is fear or worry, when you want to avoid pain, sometimes you have a negative self-image, already you carry it. So all these become barriers when we want to go in for learning. Unrealistic expectations and sometimes the tendency to blame others. The person needs to be aware of these emotions in order to overcome these obstacles in learning. Talking about academic performance also, we will see that academic performance and the behavior improves with your EI, with your emotional intelligence. Learning stimulates curiosity. Your feeling of satisfaction is there. You even feel joyful when one immerses in the process of assimilating the ideas, isn't it? And of course, productive language skills. What are these productive language skills, which is going to help us if once we have a control over our emotions? In a study, once again, I'm referring to that I read, a study which was conducted in 2009. It was said that EI and productive language skills in ELT, they both related. There is an impact of your verbal intelligence. EI is instrumental in when we see our students taking turns in classrooms, employed in the activities, amount of communication that is done, number of errors, all the brain-based activities, how open they are or how extrovert they are. All these findings indicate that understanding and managing students' own emotions, they have to be responsive to others' emotions as well. So, students with high level of EQ, they were more eager to attend such speaking classes, to participate in such activities. And those with the low level of EQ, they were not much interested, I can say. They were not much involved in the classroom activities. So there is a validity, there is a significant correlation in the achievement of the subject and managing the stress. If students are given training, if students know about their emotional intelligence, they will be adapting better. Their reading skills, their speaking skills, their interpersonal skills are definitely going to be better. High emotional intelligence has influence on these skills. They are important. We know, see, they are important not only for the students, even for the teachers. Teachers and students' proficiency in emotional intelligence, it influences overall management, isn't it? Teachers have to deal with their own emotions and also those of stakeholders. They have to deal with the parents, with the colleagues, with the administration also. So you can realize how much of occupational stress is there. If we have a regular emotional skill training, this can definitely create a stable and a supportive and a productive learning environment. And this will encourage positive social interaction, actively engaging classes amongst our students. The question comes, what triggers us? I got a quote by Carl Jung. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. If we observe others, we understand ourselves too. Sometimes, whatever other people say, don't we feel frustrated, irritated, anxious, annoyed? Identify what triggers us, write it down, understand, and then try to manage it also. We have to keep in mind what happens to us when we are triggered. So consciously think, physically, how do we feel? Do we look away? Or when the students are triggered, what are the external signs that they're giving? Emotionally ask yourself what happens. What is it that I'm showing to others when I'm triggered, when I'm not myself, when there is something which has disturbed me and I'm not able to label it? And for that, it is essential for me to unhook myself. How will I do that? What is the self-regulation technique? We have to consider an alternative perspective, explore it. Avoid over-personalizing or jumping to conclusions. Breathe deeply, walk off your tension, act from curiosity, right? What may the person need? What are we afraid about? So the physical release of the tension is very essential. At this particular point, we should ask ourselves, what role am I playing here? How may I be contributing? Am I overlooking or misinterpreting something? Am I exaggerating something? Question yourself. This will give you answers. When you feel that strong emotions inside, pause for a while. Just hold yourself, right? Because once you have those high emotions, you lose ability to think. So step back, strengthen your ability, take your innocence, be more, you can say, adoptive mode. If you want to find out from others, say, tell me more. Come on, I'm ready. I'm ready. My mindset is ready. Do more of self-assessment, self-regulation. Understand what is happening around. Shift your focus, what is triggering you. So you can maintain an inner dialogue, change your thoughts, avoid the triggers, separate yourself from that problem and be more attentive. This is definitely going to help you to have more control. Understand the bias. We sometimes don't realize this, isn't it? It's only gradually, with maturity and with experience, or when somebody else has a biased attitude against us, that we realize it. It is a crucial skill, isn't it? Understanding the bias. So, when you're thinking, when we are speed up thinking, or when we are jumping to conclusions, do we ever question ourselves that are we objective? Am I reasonable enough? Reality sometimes is very different. Okay, brain is very powerful. So we need to be objective, isn't it? Many times it happens when we're working in a team, we see one person takes the credit of working in the team. Or sometimes people are in the tendency of blaming others whenever something goes wrong. Even when we are in a team, we prefer to take the credit, but when the blame comes, it's always delegated elsewhere. So what is this? This is the kind of selective perception. Observe unconsciously, am I doing this kind of thing? Even in a group sometimes. So how can this be minimized? Understand the possible causes, the mental shortcuts, take control, know your preferred biases, and definitely this is going to help you to use your emotional intelligence in a much, much intelligent way. Understand the personal, the cultural aspects. Work to reduce your defensiveness. Be your own counselor. This will help you to be a better person. There may be so many key skills to raise your emotional intelligence. For example, ability to reduce stress. There is stress which affects your mind as well as body. Keep your calm, balanced. Use stress busting skills. Realize what works for you. What are the stress busters good for you? Identify them. And then you will be less depressed. You'll be much better work. Ability to recognize and manage your emotions as well as the emotion of others. Experience these feelings, physical sensations, facial expressions, behavior, decision makings. Ask yourself, do I experience these feelings and emotions so much? Am I able to have a control over them? And ability to connect with others. What about the non-verbal communication that we are telling others? Our facial expressions, our body, what are the kind of signals that are being given? And when we are observing others, are we able to read the non-verbal cues? Eye contact, gestures, tone of voice, speech. Then humor. Use humor when dealing with challenges. Of course, that is not going to be easy, but gradually with practice, I'm sure we will be able to have a kind of a playful communication at times. This also helps to be a good stress buster, natural antidote. So that, we do find people, we have a family member or a friend in a group whom we always miss when the person is not there. Why? Because the presence of that person lightens the atmosphere, isn't it? And of course, resolve the conflicts positively. When you have the decision making capabilities, focus on the present. Don't hold on to the past. End up things, forgive people, move on with life. This all is going to build up your emotional intelligence and help you to be much better persons. We've already taken a few points how to improve our emotional intelligence. Together with that, observe well how you react to people. Do you rush for judgments? Are you stereotype kind of a person? Without any reasons, you take your own conclusions. At workplace, are you cribbing for attention? Do you always want that whatever you have accomplished should be celebrated? Be humble. Do we do that kind of self-evaluation or SWOT? Try to find out your weak areas also. Whenever there's a stressful situation, how do we react to it? Are we upset or do we have a control? When something goes wrong, how many of us take the responsibility of our action? Very difficult for people to bring them further and say, I'm sorry, or to apologize. So make honest attempts. And that will come when we identify and understand our own emotions. And of course, last but not the least is put yourself in others' shoes to realize exactly what others are feeling. This becomes very essential. So friends, choose your battles wisely. Decide whether you wish to address You want to postpone or you wish to ignore. Whenever there's a situation, ask yourself, is it something regular kind of thing or a repeated situation? Does it get better if I get involved with it? What is the nature of a relationship? Do I care more for the relationship or for the argument? What is the other's perspective? Think about it. So focus on the interest, ask and listen more, right? Then you talk. Suspend your judgment for some time because as anger increases, your judgment decreases. Shift your focus for a while. You may be feeling sadness, shame, helplessness. These are all unpleasant emotions: anger, embarrassment, disappointment. Find out, why are we afraid? Do they really matter? Am I able to experience them? Am I able to go further? That make no difference to me. Stay present. This is very essential. Emotions, they will rush through the body just like waves. Let them pass. Don't try to avoid them. Don't run away from it. See, lifelong, we are captivated by unpleasant feelings. And the biggest challenge is dealing with them. If you can experience and move through these unpleasant feelings, you can pursue anything in life. So the choice is yours. Think of the moments when you have denied your feelings, when you have never freed up yourself. Doesn't it happen even in family? Sometimes when you meet your relative or cousin or your siblings after a very long time, and if some unpleasant moment is mentioned and you say, okay, I don't want to talk about it, isn't it? We have locked it up somewhere deep inside and we do not want to come out with those emotions now. So think of those moments when you denied those feelings. They will come and will hang on for some time. And of course, they will subside. So check with yourself. At that time, did you run, hide, or shut down, or distracted? Sometimes, we distract with food, with shopping, or with social media, whatever means of escape. We need to accept those unpleasant feelings also. Let's not call them negative feelings. They are unpleasant, but it's fine. They will hang on for a moment. Let us stay at present and then mend our relationships with ourselves, with our goals. Feel comfortable about everything. Be the fog. Be ready to absorb whatever is coming. Learn to regulate your emotions like a fog. So be ready, even if it is criticism. If something bad or negative is said about me, fine, I'm like that. Okay, I'll try to improve myself and then try to disarm the person who's coming up with it. So there can be so many ways in which we can make this intelligence better. A more intelligent use of this emotional intelligence. I read about this window of tolerance. What happens sometimes? Our feelings, they go up and down, isn't it? Not necessarily that every time we are balanced. There are so many anxieties, different things impact us. When the emotions go very high, that is called hyperarousal. We always think of flight or a fight. And when we go down, depressed, hypoarousal feeling, when you feel totally, locking yourself, least motivated. So what have we to learn? We have to learn to stay in that optimal zone, to have a better understanding of what is impacting us. Think of ideas to calm myself if I go in that state of hyperarousal or if I'm going down in that depressive state. How can I best stay in that optimal zone? I have to find out my own ways. And gradually, if I'm aware of it, I will be able to control it in a much, much better way. A mood meter, keep a log of your feelings once a week, or once in a fortnight, or even once a month. We can always write down when you felt emotionally stirred. Keep a log of your feelings. I tell my students, write down diaries. Whatever has made you very happy and something that has made you sad. I don't ask them to write each and everything. So, this way, at times they say that I read my last months and I felt that twice I felt very happy. So I cannot say that there is no happiness around. What is your current mindset? Ask yourself, what am I feeling? How am I feeling? What am I thinking? Just do that kind of introspection and see how happy or how emotionally stirred you feel, isn't it? So that becomes very essential. Activate your turtle to a certain extent. Slow down a while. Withdraw for some time, even if it is essential. Take a break. Handle emotions well. yours as well as others, because this is what is going to help you. This is going to help you to use it intelligently, whether it is at workplace or at your own at personal level. Keep a balance well. This will definitely create a better environment. It brings in better adaptability and empathy. Group rapport, these days we see that employers also want employees who have a higher emotional intelligence for the success of their own organization. So be successful in life, this is playing a vital role. Listen to music, watch emotional movies, have classroom discussion, accept and appreciate emotions. No need to, put it down. No need to shy away from things. Open up and come forward. Use it intelligently. So, friends, in a nutshell, emotional intelligence is really going to make an impact on life. It is something which is going to take us, which really matters in life. And for that, we have to remember the most important domains: identifying and understanding our own emotions and also the emotions of others, self-regulation, and having the social skills for empathy, for motivations, in order to have a perfect relationships. Understand the importance of EQ. We know that language anxiety is there. We need to handle that anxiety. We need to create that friendly and conducive atmosphere. We need to encourage our students. Tell them it's just a language. Tell them to share their worries, share their insecurities. If they're not able to speak about him, make smaller groups, whoever they are comfortable with. Guide them to identify. Use stories, use literary excerpts. Activate their learning thinking skills, and we need to teach them how to calm them down. Tell them, identify, label your feelings. Only then you will be able to handle it. Communicate with each other, reduce their stress, make them feel relaxed and comfortable. See, emotional intelligence, this develops the flexible behavior, that tolerance in individuals. And we can help our students and our learners in order to be apt in it, in order to understand it. We know that it is the world we are living in, it's increasing in violence, there's so much of stress, depression, so much of road rage addiction, and this current pandemic. We really need to handle our emotions. Let's not be the slaves of passion. Let us try not always to be, swept up by emotions, but have a control over them. How long will an emotional be lost? Try a level best to handle, especially if they are unpleasant emotions. Learn to ventilate anger in a much productive way. Don't suppress, but act on it. Don't act immediately, but understand it better so that you're able to relate better. You're able to have a healthier relationship. You're able to achieve a greater success and have a much more leading and fulfilling life also. Because this is what is going to help us, even in our academic field. High EI definitely is going to take us. The only thing that we as teachers and also help our learners to do is understand and use this emotional intelligence in a much intelligent way. We'll be more comfortable, we'll be more expressive, we'll be more adaptive, we'll be more acceptable, isn't it? We will understand the non-verbal, we'll be more balanced and self-confident. So instead of blaming others or criticizing or interrupting or judging others, lying about the feelings or carrying grudges for years together, being unforgiving or being very rigid, let us be more flexible. Yeah, name it to tame it. Label these emotions. Try to understand these emotions. Explore ways so that we can be more verbal about it. And we can help our learners also to speak about it. And definitely, this is going to create a much, much better environment, a much, much better place to stay in. So let us be nice. Let us be more emphatic. Let us be motivated and motivate others also. This will definitely take us a long way to appreciate whatever is going on around us. These are some of the sites that I had referred to in preparing this presentation. See, friends, people, they may forget what you said to them, isn't it? You don't remember the words, but they would never forget how you made them feel. You can't change the world that is going around until you start changing what is going on within you, right? So, an important step is, let us start thinking intelligently, use the emotional intelligence in an intelligent way. Thank you so much for giving me your precious time and patient hearing. Thank you.
What could have been better way, ma'am? It's absolutely like balanced. The topic or the day's topic has been balanced the way you have taken us through the deliberation. So in
Thank you.
that case, thank you would be a very small term in appreciation of your profound knowledge and refinement in presenting your thoughts on like how to think more creatively, motivate ourselves. The demarcation between the emotional quotient and the intelligent quotient. Importance of EQ, especially in the domain of ELT, with interactions with the learners and trying to enable them communicate. To harness our emotions and apply them to tasks, reflect our emotions, handle our emotions, and at the same time be able to handle the emotion of others and be proficient in our emotions. Well, madam, as you have already balanced your deliberations by your perspectives on the theme vis-a-vis the suggestive measures to overcome the barriers of emotional concerns and be positive and responsive, I'm sure that we are all are going to take up and definitely apply them in our own understandings and in our own perspectives. Thank you. So, ma'am, if you kindly allow, may we take up the questions because we have some questions in the chat box.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The first question is from Dr. Indrani. She wants to know, most of the time when we listen to others indirectly, it disturbs us emotionally. So, how to overcome this?
Yeah, I mean, this is something very common that all of us have to deal at workplace and even at personal level. You have to come up with your own ways, how to deal with it, whether you just want to be quiet or you want to give an answer at that particular moment without disturbing yourself, first of all. So, the first and most important thing in this is, when you feel that people are, can you kindly repeat the topic, the question, please,
Yeah,
Swati?
just a second. Yeah, surely, ma'am. She wants to know, time when we listen to others indirectly, it disturbs us emotionally. So, how do
Okay,
we overcome this?
yeah. So the first question, as I took up in the presentation, that is everybody disturbed when such a thing happens? Why is it disturbing only me? I need to have an introspection. I need to identify my emotions. What is it when people talk like this is making ripples inside me? Isn't it? Is my tolerance less? Do I feel irritated? Is the words or the tone that is used by the person that irritates me? So, what is important? Self awareness over here, and also at the same time, the person who's talking to you, and awareness. You can also pick up a diplomatic way. If you don't want to tolerate it any further, avoid the person. You have to find your own way. But just keeping mum about it and all the time thinking about it, that this person disturbs me or the presence of this person is creating a negative impact on me, is not right. So, in order to have a positive approach, I need to deal with it, right? Identify my emotions, identify my personality, be aware of it, and come out with the means. And also at the same time, observe the person who is making you feel like this, right? It looks like as if I'm I'm not comfortable in that particular situation. How can I handle it? You have to find your own way. Indrani, are you there? I'm not able to see Indrani.
Yes, ma'am, she is there.
Okay, okay.
It's a wonderful
So
answer. The way
yes,
you deal is going to heal you.
yes.
Deal is the heal.
I would also like others to answer, because this is not a question answer, it's more of a discussion.
And
We
moreover,
all can vary in our answers to deal with this.
I can say one thing,
Ma'am,
like
Yes,
if
Ghanshyam.
this kind of a question is there, then always try to see your own body. God
Yeah,
has given 2 ears. They are very parallel to each other. God hasn't given the ear right near your foot. Had it been there, it would have taken a long time to get it away. So the ears are very parallel. The moment you listen, if you don't want it, just get it out. And if you want it, keep it on your head. If you want to spread it, use your mouth. That's the scientific way that God has created ourselves. So we need to understand the body first. And we need to understand the inner mechanism, inner engineering first. The person who can understand inner engineering and inner mechanism well can deal with the emotional intelligence in a beautiful way.
That's true. Very good, Ghanshyam. Thank you. I would like others also to give their opinion about this. How
may
do
I
you
share
tackle
something?
it? Yes.
Ma'am, may I share? I mean,
sure.
In this, ma'am, I'm reminded of this, like, as you said, that we need to look at ourselves. I mean, the intra part is there. So in that case, maybe I am reminded of Kule's looking glass, that how am I reflecting upon, or am I looking from the perspective of others? That is, I think it helps us to take a look at into our inner thoughts.
Yes, that's right. Very good, Swati. Madam Patil, I would like you also to comment on this.
Ma'am, kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah. I'll give my overall comment at the end. Yeah.
Okay,
Let
fine.
the question answer session get over. Yeah.
Ma'am,
All right.
May I take the second question?
Yes, please do.
It is from Dr. Yasir. He has got 3 questions. The first question is there a valid, reliable, standardized test for EQ?
Yes, there are a few tests. Of course, I've not gone through them because as a psychologist, I went through many papers and many researches which I found on the net. There are certain tests, but of course, the answers are not very valid, will not come up to the point. They're very, it's not easy to pinpoint and to give a direct score for the emotions of the persons. I saw a few inventories online inventories are also given in order to have an idea how emotionally intelligent you are.
Okay. Yeah, moving on to the second question.
Dr. Yasir is our international participant from Saudi Arabia. And he is the head and chair Department of Linguistics.
All right.
And we have another participant from the international arena from Bhutan. His question is also there.
All right. Fine.
So I'll take up the second question.
Yes. I would like anybody else, if there's a psychologist in our group, can answer this question, if anybody knows, because I don't know about the standardized test. I've gone through lots of researches. They do say that there are certain inventories. People have taken up certain questionnaires in order to find out how emotionally intelligent you feel. Would anybody like to add in this?
Okay. Maybe take up the second question then?
Yes.
Okay. How to accommodate the emotion competence within the linguistic theory? How to accommodate the emotion competence with the linguistic theory? Is it assumed under communicative competence or pragmatic competence?
I think I would like to take it up with the communicative competence. Okay. How far you have the competence to accommodate it? Because basically what you feel, it is not the intelligence quotient which is going to, of course, intelligence quotient is linked with your linguistic competent, but how far you are successful, your fluency, the way you take it up, the way you communicate, it is related to your emotional intelligence. That is what I feel.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Coming on to the last question from sir, the relevance of voice and intonation, can they be included as markers of EQ?
I would not say they would be markers of EQ, but yes, they do make an impact. Emotional intelligence makes an impact on the voice and the intonation. If a person is emotionally very strong, very confident, has a control over the emotions, the entire speech or the way a person communicates makes an impact. So voice and intonation will definitely be affected if you have a complete control over it. On your own emotions, awareness about it, and at the same time, regulating and managing it. And also at the same time, if you can observe what is going on with whomsoever you are having the communication. So to a certain extent, yes, it will have an impact.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The next question is by Dr. Ghanshyam sir. How to tap the fast running young minds who are logically and technically sound?
What is the question, Ghanshyam?
How to How to tap the fast running young minds who are logically and technically sound.
Yeah. Logically and technically they may be sound, but not necessarily they are sound emotionally. In fact, not emotionally, it means intelligent, EI.
No,
Whether they have
there
that
is
EI
another part
skill.
of the question. Swati
Yes.
has taken only the half part.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
they
That was
never even
that's
listen
a
to the moral and the ethical code of
ethical
conduct.
ways of life.
Yeah.
Sorry,
They
that was a
don't listen
sentence.
to it. That
They
is
do
very
not want to
true.
listen to morality or ethical ways of life. That was the second part of it.
Yes. For that, say you have to devise your own means in the classroom. That's what we do. We give them examples, like just now I quoted an example from Barack Obama. You can pick up autobiographies or tell them, to have a kind of a discussion or the group activities to make them aware. You have to give certain examples and live examples before them so that they're convinced, to certain extent, isn't it?
Right.
That can be one way to do it. Yes, Gancham?
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. What I do is because I raised a question, not only to have the answer, but at the same time, let all of us, means most of us are feeling this kind of a problem. So the
Yes.
very important aspect of it is the moment you sit with your students, the moment you are interacting with your students, if you are a sage on the stage, then you may not be able to control the emotional intelligence of your student. But the moment you become the guide on the side, you will be able to
Yes.
control the emotional intelligence of your students.
Yeah, that is very
So
true. So we have to do away with the traditional approach of being a teacher,
right,
a guide,
we
being a
should not be the
facilitator for them.
sages on the stage, but we
Yes,
should
that's
be the
right.
guide on the side.
Yeah,
Like
that's
Shah
true.
Rukh Khan's film Main Hoon Na. You just make the students understand Main Hoon Na. Entire thing will come into your
Yeah.
focus.
So you
And
have to build
rather
that
than,
kind of trust also for them,
yes,
no?
rather than teaching, the best way is to reach. If you
Yes.
reach, then teach is already there.
So see that kind of connection or relation or to relate with them comes only with that, if that emotional intelligence is strong to a certain extent, isn't it? So being that facilitator, being that kind of guide, being that kind of friend to them will definitely help. I think Dr. Sachdeva was trying to say something. I just saw, hello, good evening.
So kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening to all of you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Vinita Singh Chaudhary for such a wonderful presentation, insightful, thought-provoking. I think this is the dire need of the time to explore this area, the study of emotions, in the sense that because the biggest problem today, which is emerging in the current times, the one is of course the health issue which is undergoing. Another is the issues pertaining to the relationships. It has already emerged as the biggest problem in the current times. You look at all the web series at OTT platforms, the TV serials, the movies, they all focus on the relationship issues, which are damaging, and people get damaged, persons get damaged in terms of emotions, their feelings, and it adversely affects the quality of their life, much as the COVID. So I think the study of the management of emotions become highly pertinent in current times. So uh, Madam has brought about various issues. It has been analytical also, psychological also, and many theories are, and psychoanalytical also. Many theories are jumbled up. On the one side, we have a power of positive thinking, law of attraction, well as dealing with your own emotions, dealing with others' emotions, empathy and sympathy. I do appreciate all these points, but one question I could see here, that being that exercising empathy and sympathy, you get caught up and swayed by those emotions and even feel victimized at times. So dealing with emotions has, I remember one professor, a friend of mine, Dr. Gerald Kupchik, who is a professor of emotions and dealing with it and the psychology. So I think um, literature, alongside literature and philosophy and psychology, this study of emotions becomes very relevant in modern times to save our relationships, to save our human life, to save our human psyche, and so on. So this topic, I calculate, iSPELL, and Dr. Jyoti Patil and Ghansham sir taking a lead and coming up with this new idea, and Dr. Vinita Singh Chaudhary with this innovative topic, which is still less, is less, has been treated so far. Yeah, yeah. So less explored. So thank you, Dr. Vinita Singh Chaudhary.
Thank you so
And
much, Sadeva sir. Thank you.
so I enjoyed each and every word of yours, and I was listening
Thank you.
very
Thank you
attentive.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Moving
Thank
on
you,
to
sir. Thank you so much. It was
Thank you, sir.
Ghanshyam actually who decided that we discussed with this topic. And though I'm not a psychologist, I had psychology as a subject at my UG level 30 years back, 33 years back. But when I came up with this topic and then I started reading Coleman and everything, and it became so interesting for me that I'm so thankful to Ghanshyam for suggesting this topic and Madam Patil. This has really given me an insight, and this is really going to help me a long way. We really need to go deep into this, as Dr. Sachdeva said. This is the time, when this is very relevant and in it to understand the emotions of ourselves as well as to have a control. I shared with Dr. Ghanshyam, I lost my colleague this morning. And I was so disturbed because the webinar was in the evening. I wrote a message to Ghanshyam, and then he also shared one of the tragedies. And then it took about 2 hours for me to have a complete control over myself and to be here once again with each one of you. So I feel strong that that was the first step I took today, that I can control my emotions and I can handle myself.
Another question is there
thank
from
you,
Bhutan.
Ghanshyam.
Yeah,
Swati?
thank you, sir. Yes, sure.
Yeah.
So coming to this question, the question is from Dr. Wamo from Bhutan. He wants to know that in trying to be more empathetic, I sometimes get caught up with the emotions of others. How do I avoid that? And he has praised for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much, Swati. See, it is something very natural, especially if a person is close to you, or if you know the person, whenever the person is sharing some kind of feeling. So while sympathizing, and you not only empathize, you get so much involved in it that it becomes difficult for you to come out of that mesh. So with practice, we have to tell ourselves, I think, mentally also, that here, yeah, I empathize with you. I feel, I can feel exactly what you are going through. But at the same time, slightly withdrawing from the personality and reasoning it out at the same time. I think with practice, this will come. Initially, we are all into it. I mean, you get some bad news and we start crying, or you feel so depressed, you can't do anything. But yes, if you have a control and hold over your emotions, and consciously you tell yourself that, yes, it's fine. I'm empathizing with you. I understand what you are going through. I understand exactly what moves you, right? But not necessary that I have to be dragged into that particular situation. I can keep myself a little away. I can withdraw a bit and still give more reasonable ways, or reasonable ways I can have a kind of a dialogue. I mean, that is how I'm going to deal with this kind of situation. I would like others also to give their views about it.
Yeah, Dr. Yasser is ready from Saudi Arabia to raise his voice.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Yasi, thank you so much. I read your
This
comment.
is spectacular. Much has been added to our knowledge. In fact, much thanks.
Thank you.
Dr. Benita. And I would like as well to extend my gratitude to Professor Shamata as well. She was the first to bring this to my attention, and I'm happy obviously to be on board. And I appreciate as well Professor Ghanshyam and Dr. Sawati as well. So I like the idea, honestly, because you are extracting something important from some basic linguistic theories, like this issue has always been subsumed under the communicative competence or pragmatic competence, and there is much overlap between the emotional intelligence and the politeness theory as well. So it's really great to see this subject as autonomous, right? And I'm looking forward to seeing standardization, for this test. It's really important, and it has relevance to education as well, because they are still using in academia. They are still using, Bloom's taxonomy and some related literature focusing on interpersonal skills. and they evaluate teachers, on these premises. They say interpersonal skills, as if the interpersonal skills have subsumed everything. Whereas at times there is a reference only to the relationship between the students together when they attend to a particular task, something like this. Therefore, this theory, in fact, is more comprehensive, and it's essential. It has to be integrated, in fact, in the assessment measures in academia and in the curriculum at the same time, because it's really important. There has always been bias and focus on the standard intelligence, the IQ itself. Okay, and this area has always been victimized despite its importance. And this is in brief. I like to see emotional intelligence autonomous and well taken care of, integrated in academia. When it comes to evaluation of faculty, when it comes to the class management, when it comes to even to spread this as well as a skill, a skill for students, because our students, for example, in different pathways, medical students, engineering students, they are directed in that way, in that rocket science pathway and that sort of thing at the expense. And I like the idea of this generation at the same time, which is that we call digital natives. The digital natives, those people, I don't think they need actually just to take good note of this important dimension when it comes to emotional intelligence, and it's a skill that has to be enhanced, I believe. And that's it. I thank you again, Professor Benita, for this informative, spectacular talk. And I'm happy to be on board, and I thank you all.
Thank you so
And
much.
it gives me a pleasure to.
Thank you, sir.
It's my
We'll take
pleasure.
up a question from Anita Sharma. How far media, especially web series, are responsible for a negative EQ of our young generation?
Oh, well, I will not blame the media. You have a choice over there, right? So they are showing negativity is there around. I mean, whether you're going to the novels or you're reading seeing the series or the web series, despite seeing the web series, you can still have a control over your emotions and know what is right and what is wrong for you. So I don't think web series has such a negative impact that you're totally swept away with it. You can have a control over yourself. Be more aware, be more conscious, know what is right for you, isn't it? So that is something very personal, and I don't think I cannot generalize it that everybody is being swept away by the negativity of the web series, right? I would like anybody else would like to share
Yeah,
on this.
ma'am, maybe move on to the next question.
Okay, yes, please.
The question is from Indrani Borkar. She wants to know, like, if IQ and EQ both are required for success, so who would be the best, or sorry, who would be most likely to get successful in life in terms of career? A person with high IQ but lesser EQ, or a person with comparatively lower IQ but better EQ?
Okay, all right. See, as I said, IQ is going to be important for you to for your scores, for the way you perform academically, then at your workplace. But to be stable over there, to have a successful life, to have a life and work balance, to have a complete, a perfect positive relation with everybody around, relation management, for that you need your EQ. So once you are there in the job, until and unless you have a high emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, no matter how academically you may rise, but you will not be a popular person. See, one example I'm giving you, that if you ask a person who is a popular leader, you're not going to tell by the number of votes. A person, a popular leader is the one who is actually in touch with his public, who is able to relate to them, who is, a kind of confident in their sorrows and their joys. So I still feel that once you are there, if you compare a person with a high IQ and a less EQ, you need more of EQ to have that kind of balance, even if your IQ level may not be that big. So only reaching that academically or in the career without having any sensitivity for your fellow beings, without being related and connected to the persons, I don't think it is going to be a very good life. It is not going to be a kind of satisfying life. That is my opinion.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Minakshi Kulkarni. Uh, how do we move away from negative emotions and work towards a resolution to mental stability?
See, Meenakshi, as I said in my presentation, the most important thing is that if you have negative emotions, first of all, let's stop calling them negative. Let's call them unpleasant emotions, right? There are no negative and positive. Some emotions you like, you feel very happy. As I said, love, joy, happiness. Somebody is appreciating. Even if I get a compliment right in the morning, you're looking very nice, my day is done. Isn't it? That happiness lingers on even by the evening, even if you forget what compliment was given. So it's not that. So let's call it unpleasant. If you have unpleasant emotions, learn to accept them. As I said, like a fog, accept them for a certain time, absorb them, and come out of it. If you feel that you're not able to handle it, write it down, discuss with people, go to books, go to sites, have counseling. So, but we need to open up for it. Don't just close yourself and put a lock over there. I'm not going to talk about it. Isn't it? One negative compliment given to a person sometimes stays here for years together, and a person speaks about it and even shares after 10 years. It happens so many times. So accept the emotions, keep yourself open, accept it as a part and parcel. When you have pleasant things, we also have certain unpleasant things also. And once I accept them, I write it down, I label it, fine, I've accepted it. And once when I accept it, it becomes easier for me to move on with life. So call it, first of all, unpleasant, and you yourself have to deal with it. You can take at initial stage help of others. You can take a little bit of counseling. You can read about it. You're not the only one. As I said, everybody is facing their own battles. It's only when you don't know about it, you always think that you are the only one or the only victim around, right? So learn to tackle whether it is a situation, and we can tackle it. We can tackle anything and everything. That's what I feel. And that's what I tell my students. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, as we are running out of time, so maybe we will not be able to take up the remaining questions.
It's okay.
So,
Fine.
so in that case, this evening, as we all have the pleasure to introduce and invite Dr. Jyoti Patil, Madam, as the revered chairperson of today's session. With 30 years of experience in teaching and administrative experiences, Dr. Patil is presently serving as the principal at Renuka College, Nagpur. She is the trained Infosys faculty for Global Language Enhancement Program, NAC assessor, resource person for academic staff colleges at RTM Nagpur University and SGB Amravati University. She is the executive member of the Association of Indian College Principals, Center for Literary Interaction and Creativity, and Shakespearean Center of Central India. Dr. Patil has authored 10 books and contributed chapters in 25 books, published and presented 105 research papers as of now. She has played Kho-Kho hockey at various levels and earned the highest rank in college NCC and has been the best shooter, Raipur division of NCC. She is an organ donor and organizes blood donation camps and awareness programs on social and environmental issues. So with this, may I request Dr. Patil, Madam, to kindly take up the stage?
Yeah.
Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Swati, for a short and sweet introduction. Good evening, all. It was really an enlightening and quite engrossing session, though not directly related to literature or language, but ardently needed at this juncture to sustain all kinds of pressures and challenges in life. As Antisthenes opined in way back in 400 BC, the most useful piece of learning for the uses of life is to unlearn what is not true. And that was the crux of the matter today. The same has been reiterated by Alvin Toffler also in his book Future Shock. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Respected General Secretary, iSPELL the Ringmaster, Dr. GA Coordinator, Dr. Ashok Sachdeva, who made wonderful comments here, keynote speaker, Dr. Vinita Chaudhary, who has made a day for so many people today. Wonderful presentation. Master of Ceremony, Swati Bose, with her sweet and nice and rapid way of presenting things is really laudable. Moderator Kishori Patel, and all the passionate lovers of literature. Today being
Thank you, ma'am.
a better listener, better observer, empathetic, being able to deal with failures are more important for better performance in life than anything else. As Yasser sir was just mentioning, Noam Chomsky, the author of Hegemony of Survival, has observed optimism is a strategy for making a better future, because unless you believe that the future can be better, you are unlikely to step up and take responsibility for making it so. So, as Dr. Chaudhary has rightly focused, that these days we are passionately particular about life skills and soft skills. Just like time management and life management, emotional management plays a vital role in one's life. Emotional intelligence or emotional competence, or so to say, emotional quotient, is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways. So, positive is very important here that we have to learn positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. But when we talk about empathizing, uh, somebody from Bhutan has asked, so that we should not cross the limit of emotional blackmailing also. And as it can be measured, Yasser sir was very much interested to know the measurement issues. That EI tests are based on the premise that EI intelligent, that is emotional intelligence, consists of group of skills that are employed in order to solve emotional problems. If you have emotional problems, how it can be solved, how it can be measured, that EQ appraisal is a skill-based assessment based on, as Madam has rightly said, Daniel Goleman's four-factor taxonomy. You know, taxonomy is the word we quite often use in the field of education, as we use Bloom's taxonomy for assessing learning outcome of our students. That is when we go for PO, CO, okay, program outcome, course outcome, or learning outcomes. So even goals taxonomy, it talks about these. When he talks about the four component Madam has mentioned in her presentation, these are measurement issues. Self-awareness she talked about. And when we talk about self-awareness, that is the SWOT analysis or SWOT analysis, which we do in our educational field, that is strength, weakness, then opportunities and challenges. Okay. Earlier it was threat, now it is challenges, SWOT analysis. But now here it is SWOT, that is strength, weaknesses, desires, and dislikes. So these four things should be focused when we talk about self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. That is really very important. You know, these days we are rational, we are practical, we don't bother when there is, of course, some goal and some aim before us to reach the top. We don't bother about the relationship. Okay, Dr. Chaudhary has given us a complete picture of the present scenario by telling us that people with emotional maturity or literacy are aware of their privilege in the world and try to take steps towards changing their behavior. So this means you don't blame others, okay, or yourself when something goes awry. You possess a spirit of humility instead of complaining about your circumstances. You should become action oriented. And how you can tell if someone is emotionally intelligent? Okay, there are some signs of high emotional intelligence. If you handle the criticism without denial, blame, excuses, anxiety, or you're open minded, you are a good listener, or you don't sugarcoat the truth and you apologize when you are wrong. This is very important. You see, John Graves and Travis Bradbury, I repeat, John Greaves and Travis Bradbury, they have written down one book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, that succinctly explains how to deal with emotions creatively and employ our intelligence in a beneficial way. So that was the crux, balancing emotion and intelligence. Okay. And if you want to improve your emotional intelligence, so follow these things. Observe how to react to people, as Madam have already mentioned. Observe how you react to people. Look at your work environment. Okay, do a self evaluation. Examine how you react to stressful situations. Take responsibilities of your action. okay, and examine how your actions will affect others. And ability to manage your stress is again very important. Stress management, that is also in the gambit of emotional intelligence. As madam has mentioned about Barack Obama, he said that change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. Nobody will solve your problem, it's you who will solve the problem, okay? And you are the one we have been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. So we have to be like this. Okay. I believe literature has the potential of fostering emotional intelligence by providing vicarious emotional experiences that will shape the brain circuits for empathy and help the person gain insight into human behavior. Moreover, literature can provide a motivating and low anxiety context for language learning. As Madam talked about language learning, I am here talking about even literature. Emotionally intelligent persons apparently perform better in academic tasks than those less so. Dr. Chaudhary, as she has rightly pointed out, today's students, however, seem to be low on emotional well-being in general and consequently lack the ability to empathize, negotiate, and cooperate, and often cannot feel optimistic and hopeful about their future. This has potentially negative consequences. Negative, this term I'm using here. First, on their academic achievement, and second, on their interpersonal relationships. So, in two areas, they have to focus and they have to drop that negativity. Okay. And for that, I'll quote one psychologist, William James. I remember the greatest discovery of my generation, he says, is that human being can alter his life by altering his attitude. So you can change the way you think and feel by changing what you say. Okay, when you talk about your mind, when you talk to yourself. So with that limited words, I will conclude. Congratulations, madam. You have left no stone unturned in presenting. The presentation was wonderful. The way you elaborated and explained, interpreted things, that was really wonderful. Everybody, you have so many praises even in the chat box. So with that, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
Over
much. With this, we mark the closing of today's session. Before I take your leave, let me express my deeply felt thankfulness to iSPELL for providing all its members an encouraging scope to explore self competence through various roles that we are assigned and gain a totality of experience. I thank all the committee members and the regional heads of iSPELL. I'm thankful to esteemed speakers, participants for their kind presence, one and all from the technical support team for the live streaming, and specially thank you, Ghansham sir, for the strong willpower and unshakable spirit that keeps motivating others. Thank you, everyone. Pray for the well-being of everyone. Stay safe.
Swati,
Over
just
to you, sir.
move on to Pramod.
Okay. Pramod sir, may I request you to kindly go for the next?
Yes. Thank you very much, Vinita Chaudhary ma'am. Indeed, you have taken us to another level of emotional intelligence, and what we talked about emotional intelligence, the way we need to develop emotional intelligence, the way we need to apply emotional intelligence, and the way Bloom's taxonomy has to be used within the classroom to deal with the emotional intelligence. All those things were quite prominent in today's presentation and deliberation, and it was such a wonderful presentation and such an enlightening presentation that we need to use all these EI in our classroom, in our life, so that the emotional quotient and the spiritual quotient will mingle with the emotional quotient. For this is a small token from iSPELL India. This certificate goes to Dr. Vinita Chaudhary for presenting to us. Yeah, for presenting to us the emotional intelligent aspect in our life and even in our classroom and also in teaching English. And indeed, it's a great honor to have a person, Dr. Jyoti Patil, who not only puts so many things on the cake, but she puts a cherry on the cake. And the cherry on the cake is always what you call very beautiful, and it appears as if you are going to preserve it, not to eat it. So that kind of an attitude is there from Dr. Jyoti Patil. So this certificate goes to Dr. Jyoti Patil for chairing the session. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
This
much.
certificate goes to the member from Kolkata who has taken us, who has led us, and the ship has came to its port with the help of Miss Swati Basu. And thank you very much, Swati, for not only enlightening us with your deliberations, but at the same time rowing the boat to its destination. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
This certificate goes to the moderator of the event, Mrs. Kishori Patel, for introducing the Master of Ceremonies and also starting the deliberations of today's event.
Thank
So,
you so much,
Kishori
sir.
Patel,
Thank you so much.
to you, and over to Kishori Patel for the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. We all know that an event like this cannot happen overnight. It requires planning and it requires a bird's eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to have with us a young, energetic, and dynamic personality, Dr. G.A. Ghanshyam sir, and his dedicated and motivated team, working non-stop continuously to facilitate and elevate us by organizing memorable literary satsang every Sunday without any break in such a critical situation of COVID-19 pandemic. First of all, I, on behalf of iSPELL, want to express my sincere gratitude and thanks to our today's resource person, Dr. Binita Singh Chaudhary ma'am, for her insightful, motivational, informative, and wonderful deliberation on such a very relevant topic. Thank you, ma'am, for your for sharing your valuable thoughts and inspiring all by your highly sparkling words. Next, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our today's chairperson and president of iSPELL, Dr. Jyoti Patil ma'am, for chairing the session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your beautiful observation and valuable remarks. I am grateful and thankful to Ms. Swati Basu ma'am, our today's Master of Ceremonies, for leading the session to its destination. Thank you so much, ma'am, for mastering today's ceremony. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Ashok Sachdeva sir, the event coordinator, for his tireless efforts. I want to express a special thanks to the technical head of iSPELL, Dr. Pramod Dangle sir, for his technical support and untiring efforts. Last but not the least, a big thanks to all other distinguished dignitaries and all the participants for their gracious presence, patience listening, and making this event resounding success. Thank you all once again. Stay free, stay healthy, stay safe.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am. Sa Vidyaya Vimuktaye. Let the Vidya lead us towards liberation. Let us all be liberate. Let us all be free. Let us all be healthy. Let us all be happy. Let us all have joy in our life. With that, iSPELL wishes you a very happy week ahead, and may all the choicest blessings of God shower on each one of you, so that this humanity may sustain and sustainability will be there in the entire world. Let us pray for the health of each and everyone, those who stay on this planet called Earth, and also to the next generation which is coming. The Earth must be there, and let us all protect this Mother Earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kishori, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.